Universal Orlando is getting ready to open up their fourth theme park, Epic Universe, and the future has never looked so bright for the fastest growing theme park resort in the world. And if you're wondering just how Universal Orlando could look like by 2030, then you are going to love these 5 potential new attractions and predictions, including 3 new major roller coasters opening up at Universal Studios and Islands of Adventure, plus a very bold prediction near the end of the video that you're not going to want to miss. This is Theme Park Predictions, and ever since 1990, guests visiting Orlando, Florida have been able to experience attractions based on the movies at Universal Studios Florida. And with Epic Universe opening by 2025, I predict that we will not see any new investments into Florida's newest theme park for at least 3 to 4 years after opening. Epic Universe is going to be stacked full of attractions and will be the first new ground-up theme park in Florida since Islands of Adventure opened up in 1999, which means that the focus will now be on Islands of Adventure and Universal Studios to make those parks even better on par with Epic Universe. With that, the first of 5 predictions for you in no particular order when it comes to the year, I think we're finally going to see Universal expand Diagon Alley. And obviously the only area to do this really is going to be where the old Fear Factor stage is located. And while this area might appear too small for an expansion, what if we would see the new area's footprint get expanded to this? If Universal went in this direction, then they would have over 3.5 acres to work with. And while I do not see much other than a new attraction and maybe a new restaurant, there is enough room for some kind of new ride. Now, something very interesting though about this plot of land, for size reference, the current Diagon Alley that includes the Green Gods Show building, but not the Hogwarts Express building, is only 4.2 acres. So realistically, Universal could do a lot with this area. We will come back to Universal Studios Florida soon, but we need to head over to Islands of Adventure to take a look at this very intriguing piece of real estate. It's been a very long time since we've seen a new attraction come to Seuss Landing, but I predict that's going to change over the next 5 or 6 years. This area is only 1.6 acres, but there is enough room for Universal to squeeze in a new attraction that offers a Seuss theme. I know a while back, there were rumblings about a Grinch-themed coaster and the whole mountain and everything else around the actual ride itself, and honestly, how good would that look in this area, because that would be awesome. But sadly, I do not see that type of ride coming to this area, but the good news is, there's a lot of other great rides and attractions that Islands of Adventure could benefit from that would fit great in this location. Maybe a fly-in theater attraction of some kind. If you are looking at ways to save some serious money while visiting Universal Orlando and still get to experience each attraction as much as you would like, then I highly recommend checking out this video right here about the benefits of the Universal Express Pass. And for your convenience, you can find the link for that video in the description of this one. Heading across the lagoon to finally remove the biggest eyesore at Islands, the Toon Lagoon Amphitheater, a structure that is hardly ever used, and it's time to finally say goodbye. And while I do not know what this building right here is used for, so if anyone knows, be sure to let us know in the comments. But if this building could get relocated somewhere else on property, you're now looking at an area that is just under 2 acres. Now, something that we all have to keep in mind is, for all of these backstage areas, Universal has already stated that they plan on moving a lot of the behind the scenes buildings at the Universal Orlando Resort, the main resort, over to the new Epic Universe Resort where they have more room. And if they would do that, then just imagine about all the free space that's available for both USF and IOA, which is why I think this area here could be one of them. Now, another question would be, would Universal decide to keep the Toon Lagoon theme or opt for something different? Now, I want to know, if you're in charge of Universal, what type of theme would you give Toon Lagoon? Be sure to let me know in the comments. Now, speaking of backstage areas, the largest one on property is the one behind the Simpsons attraction, and depending on how large Universal wants to go with this, they can build pretty much any type of ride they wanted to. And if you're a Halloween Horror Nights fan, then you're going to be wondering, what about the sprung tents? Well, good news, because these tents can be relocated somewhere else on property rather easily. This area here is where I can see a major expansion in the coming years. It just makes sense. As to what type of attraction, well, there are so many different things that Universal can do with this area. But what I would love to see is Florida's fastest roller coaster, a brand new themed attraction that travels up to speeds of 88 miles an hour. This would be a coaster that's themed around the Back to the Future franchise, and you're not going to want to miss all the details in this video right here once you learn about the rest of my predictions for Universal Orlando by the year 2030. And for your convenience, you can find a link for it in the description of this video. It's only a matter of time before we see Nintendo get spread out to the other parks, and it's no secret that the Lost Continent is in dire need of something. I mean, after all, it's pretty bad when the only real attraction that you can find in the Lost Continent area is a restaurant. And while Mythos is great and all, it is pretty ridiculous. So I think that this area will become the focus for islands before the other two I've already mentioned earlier in the video. Now, how good does a whole new themed area themed around Zelda sound, featuring a roller coaster that the Florida theme parks have never seen before? When adding a coaster, Universal is all about creating an immersive environment that puts you in the center of the attraction. So I would think the coaster would feature dark ride sections and outdoor sections. What if we would see a brand new high-capacity B&M wing coaster be located in this area? This would give the park a very reliable coaster that would feature a few inversions, airtime, quick transitions, a few near misses, but most importantly, a ride experience that will not be as intense as Velocicoaster or the Incredible Hulk, but more intense than Hagrid's. Now, if you want to learn more about this coaster, then you really need to check out this very in-depth video about how this massive ride could fit at Islands of Adventure. So be sure to bookmark this video, and you can find the link for it in the description of this one. Now, before I get to my bold prediction, if you're enjoying this video, then be sure to give it a like. That is by far the best way you can help support the channel, and I really do appreciate each one. So now, let's talk about that bold prediction. And that is, by 2029, I predict that Universal Orlando will remove their tallest roller coaster on property. It's time to grab a box of tissues, because I don't think Hollywood Rip Ride Rocket will make it past 2029. Now, you might be wondering why such a specific year, and that really is quite simple, because Hollywood Rip Ride Rocket opened in 2009, and that would make the coaster over 20 years old come 2029, which doesn't seem that old for a major coaster. However, when you factor in how great Universal takes care of their coasters long-term wise, it really does make sense. Also, these rides operate every single day of the year. Not to mention, but Hollywood Rip Ride Rocket stays open for Halloween Horror Nights, and for most days during those events, this ride is running from 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. all the way until around 1, 2, or even 3 in the morning. Just recently, we saw Universal close down their Mummy attraction and replace a bunch of the indoor coaster's track with all new pieces. But most notably, our eyes have to shift to the Incredible Hulk, Islands of Adventure's famed 7 inversion coaster, which first opened up in 1999, but then it closed in 2015 to get torn down completely and rebuilt with the all-new track and supports. And that happened only 16 years after the Hulk first opened. So Universal has quite the dilemma coming up. Will they do the same with Hollywood Rip Ride Rocket? Will they rebuild the coaster from the ground up, which would not be cheap, or would they opt to replace the 3,800-foot-long coaster altogether with another type of coaster? With Epic Universe going to be a massive draw, Universal's going to have to dump some serious money into Universal Studios Florida, and a new roller coaster that would run along the same footprint as Hollywood Rip Ride Rocket would make a lot of sense. And if you're wondering about what type of coaster I'm thinking about, then stay tuned because I'm working on a brand new coaster concept that you're not going to want to miss. So while I do not know what type of coaster could replace Universal's tallest one, I do predict that Rip Ride Rocket will no longer be around come 2029. Now, if you love theme parks, then I really want to know how many of the top 10 largest ones have you visited. Be sure to watch this video and let me know in the comments. Now, I want to know, what are your predictions for Universal Orlando over the next 5 years? You know what to do, let me know in the comments. As always, thank you so much for watching. Remember to smile today, think positive, and keep riding coasters.